Today is the first day of spring. What a great time to be here to talk about the future of climate and energy.
So what's really important as a part of today is engagement, is your participation as a part of this conversation. The future of climate and energy is a huge topic.
Welcome everyone. Glad to have you here at TELUS Harbor, my home. TELUS has been, over the years, very involved in climate, environment, and sustainability and making changes. We go back to 2010 when we first set some key goals, which we overachieved in 2019.
Buildings is part of an ecosystem, a community. It's not a building. Mary and I talked about this a few weeks ago, I think, or a month ago. It's not a building in isolation, and it's really a part of a whole ecosystem. So in the past, and this is more your field more than mine, I'm more of a social architect, you're more the building architect. But look at it as put the two together, the social structure and the building structure. So it's one living ecosystem.
A vision for integrated, sustainable, transit-oriented areas. What that really means is living a better life and using less cars. Being less car dependent, a lot less energy, and it's kind of return to the village.
Big, bold idea. I'm from Toronto Hydro. Electrify. Electrify your buildings, electrify your vehicles.
And you basically said, let's strip all existing policy out of that and just focus on everything we need to do to demonstrate how you deliver zero carbon living, use that as an innovation hub, create a global network of those, and use that as a means to accelerate so we can move from, we can accelerate piloting, failing, what works, what doesn't.
I mean, we want to reduce the amount of energy we use at the point of use, but then we also want to have the ability to share energy.
I was part of an accelerator program led by NYSERDA in New York State, and I had the pleasure of seeing how New York State wanted to set out a vision to become a global clean tech hub. And it was a beautiful vertical integration from federal funding to state funding to accelerators to private enterprise and down to innovators.
Getting to zero, absolute zero, is a game changer. And so what we learned was, okay, we need to consider renewables much earlier in the process. And don't get me wrong, please, for all you building envelope people out there that want to tighten up your envelopes, I'm with you. We considered building envelope in ours. But what the study told us was it cost too much at the beginning. And so there wasn't an appetite to kind of go after, tightening up the envelope.
My bold idea, though, is we need a very simple way to deploy net or decarbonized heating solutions to smaller properties across the country in a scalable way that is going to be bulletproof.
At Ener3, we specialize in existing building analysis, employing a holistic approach to scrutinize energy usage. Our mission is simple yet profound: to identify ways to enhance energy efficiency and drive the cost savings. In a world where sustainability is paramount, our work is not just about reducing energy consumption. It's about making a tangible difference in the environment and in your bottom line.
So Atlas Apex Roofing we were founded in 1928. We're a national provider of ICI, industrial, commercial, institutional roofing services. One of the ways that we assist our customers in achieving their net zero and their sustainability objectives, and probably the biggest impact we can have in a roofing proper sense, is to increase the longevity and maximize the life of the roof assets. One of the other ways that we do this is rooftop solar. We partnered many years ago, about 15 years ago, with AMP Energy in that regard, so we can provide, together with AMP, a holistic approach, turnkey approach. Obviously, you need a good foundation when you're doing rooftop solar, and that's where we come in.
From our beginnings in 2009, we've developed 7 gigawatts of projects globally, largely in those asset classes that I mentioned. Coming back here into Canada and Ontario, where we're still at home, we've developed over 750 projects, largely rooftop solar.
BOMA BEST, those of you who don't know what BOMA BEST is, that's BOMA Canada's largest green building certification and management program with over 5,500 buildings certified. The newest version of the program, which was launched last April, also provides a playbook for organizations to get on board and stay on track and support their transition to net zero operations, so low carbon operation.
You cannot get to zero carbon with energy efficiency. And what we found in the study that I thought, because this is counter to what I had thought would happen, but that's fine. What we found was that when you improve the envelope, and therefore you're able to reduce the size of the heat pump, the actual cost of the equipment going from 100 to 70 is not a big deal. It's the cranes, it's the police, it's the installation. The actual difference in the cost of that machine, because it's smaller, was really small. It almost vanishes.
The key word is pathway to net zero. And if we're not on a pathway like optimization and conservation continually, and if there's 30% savings in thousands of buildings across Canada today, and there is, why aren't we at least doing that first?
I think there needs to be a very robust curriculum in Canadian education system, right from grade 1 all the way through university, and how to be a good citizen. What are the sustainable practices, and with respect to conservation and renewable and all those things.
So I'll just really echo the sentiments shared, that higher education has to partner with all of you in this pursuit. And we just hope that you'll hire the students that are values aligned with these types of initiatives.
We just recently put out a survey. We had 150 respondents, people between 18 and 25, asking about their climate anxiety. As you can imagine, they're anxious. They're a bit angry. They feel betrayed. They feel as though really collectively we haven't done enough. But the interesting piece, the thing that kind of spun me on that, I thought, perhaps this would lead to some sort of, some spiteful energy. But what I actually got was optimism.
So you don't have to sort of be a fan of Che Guevara to understand that our current economic system is taking us right off the climate cliff. You don't have to be super left to understand this economic system is causing irreparable harm to future generations. But nor do you need to be a Wall Street titan or some kind of free marketeer to understand that Wall Street, private capital, corporations, technology, all the stuff the left likes to hate, those are the most powerful tools we have to solve this problem.
And I basically started to do project by project decarbonization. I didn't call it that way. It was, ROI driven or financially, auto finance project. That was the name, 8 years ago. But in the background, I was just decarbonizing, as fast as possible.
For a global challenge, like the challenge that we are facing today, the climate challenge, we need to go back to reality, because we need to support the community. As Tom said, and I want to quote you, when you were saying, if you have a wicked problem like climate change, you need to use the most powerful tool you have. And I strongly believe the most powerful tool we have is the human brain. So we have amazing people, researchers at universities who are taking these challenges, and we need to utilize them.
And the question and the challenge we now face is, how do we take that forward to the next generation? How do we, not only the next generation in practitioners, but more fundamentally the next generation of practice?
The challenge we have now is it's not just those industries that need to succeed. And me as a clean tech bull to make money, we need to make those changes on the scale of the entire economy in the space of the next decade or two to sort of mitigate this risk.
To me, the really important thing is that this is the first business-like climate conference that I've heard calling out the oil companies as actual agents of disinformation, because it's been happening for years, and we sort of pretend it doesn't, and we pretend that we're puzzled as to why Canadians aren't on board, and Americans and so many people in the world, why we're so far behind Europe. And I was really glad to hear that we're actually calling out the fossil fuel companies, that we're actually responding with statistics, especially from Tom, as to why they're yesterday and why we shouldn't be listening to them. So I think it's really important that we keep focusing on the messaging, communicate, communicate, communicate.
I think we do have to change. We have to tolerate less BS and work hard on positive change and make it front and center and talk about it a lot more. I think sustainability we talk about when the forest is burning. When there's a meeting of minds somewhere in the world once or twice a year. We don't talk about it every day. We don't look at it and try to change in a positive way or ask others how they've done it. I think there's a lot of people that are very successful at it.
It'd be wonderful if we could make it happen here. You know, the idea of talking to each other, partnerships, and actually working towards an outcome in a systems-based approach. I think that'd be quite nice.
I agree.
Well, there we go.
One day your kids are going to ask you what you did when the world got hot, and you better have something to say.
No, my message is really, don't think about what's going to happen now and today, but really think about the 5 years plan and start doing that. Because once we are 5 years down the road, this plan will already be not valid anymore, and it's going to be too late for that. And come and work with us.
I want to thank this wonderful man, Peter, for being the master of ceremony extraordinaire.